Galisteo just dropped his newest 128 update. Now he's got to update his 64, and the 64 is a lot cheaper than the 128. So let's have a look at this. Alright, so setting up your controller, hold down, you gotta up, down, left, right, and then with only your left analog up and left, and then your right analog up and left, and then A, B, X, Y, start, select, left bump, you got the bumpers and then the triggers, and then you skip this by holding A, skip this by holding A, and then hotkey, make it select. Alright, once you're done there, the next thing you want to do is change the language, so I go down, click start, go down one to the options for the system, go down to Portuguese, and change this to English, and then you will need to reboot after you press back here. You'll notice that I'm not doing anything, it should just reboot. There you go. Alright, Galisteo just updated 128 gigabyte, and what was next? To update the 64 gigabyte. Now I'm a big fan of the 64 gigabyte because you could still store a ton of games, just like this image right here. 73 systems, 10,843 games. I am running this on a SanDisk Ultra 64 gigabyte. Links in the description. It's a highly recommended card. If you're wondering how big this file is, it is a .bin file, so you are going to need a USB to micro USB adapter to write this image. It will not work in a standard micro SD slot or SD card slot. Right clicking on this file, it is 59.4 gigabytes at 63,864,573,000, about 574,000 basically. Alright, but it does fit on that SanDisk Ultra, no problem. And you might be wondering, hey Drew, what's the difference between this and the previous 64 gigabyte? Well, there's quite a few additional games added, and there's some fixes as well. The first thing you're noticing right here is you have all these new categories, these new collections. And what this is arcade broken up. If you're wondering about total arcade games, they're broken up here. The broken up games are approximately 1,404, where in the main by itself, where they didn't add categories, just main by itself, they're only going to have 386. But there's an additional 1,400 games in these categories here, between Cave, Band Presto, and everything else like that. So that's what you're seeing there. The other thing is there are some rare games being added, Alex the Kid 2, there's some hack games added on here as well, which are brand new. Moonwalker is now working. Altered Beast, I guess there was an issue with it before. That's working. Regular Nintendo hacks were enabled. Some of the Amiga 600 and 1200 and Dynavision was added. And then there were some bugs with Coleco, Odyssey, and Capcom. So let's go ahead and see what we got here. Super Nintendo 901 games. So quite a few here. You can see which are his favorites in here. You have Super Nintendo hack games, 93. You got Super Famicom, 159. You got NES, 820. Of those NES with hacks, you have 926. So that seems like a lot of hacks. If you're interested. Wow, Castlevanias, Final Fantasy, Mega Mans. Tons of hacks. Hacks galore. Zelda 2s. Lots and lots and lots. Dynavision, this is what was fixed. You got 100 of these. Nice to see. Nintendo 64, 236. So massive Nintendo 64 collection on a 64 gigabyte. That's good to see. You don't see that very often. Now this is going to only run for the Raspberry Pi B, not the B+. And then this is Recalbox. Recalbox does have Kodi on there, as you see if you hit the start button. And N64 runs pretty decent even with the Pi. If you overclock, you can get even better performance. So those hack games, if you're interested, Mario Kart 64, Super Wooting Nitro, Super Mario 64, Star Revenge, Sonic Adventure 64, bunch of Super Mario hacks, Super Smash Bros. 2, Alpha. Alright, Game Boy 489, Game Boy Advance 1062, Game Boy Color 545, Family Computer Disk System 237, Virtual Boy 26, Game & Watch 51, Sega Master System 292, Tech Toy 41, Sega Mega Drive, also known as Genesis 816. In the hacks, you got another 190 hacks in here. So if you guys like to play with those hack games, look no further. You know, you can do Streets of Rage, all sorts of things. Sega CD only 4, so this is where he's saving some space because of the limitation of the 64 gigabyte. So no Terminator, but Sonic the Hedgehog CD, good game. Road Rash, great game. Fatal Fury, Final Fight. Sega 32X, 37, that's pretty standard. Dreamcast, so you do get 2 Dreamcast games. 3, you get Mortal Kombat Gold, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and Capcom vs. SNK 2. So nice to see a couple Dreamcast games thrown on here on the 64. Game Gear 262, SG 1000, 68. Star Wars Collection 27. PlayStation, so 28, still able to fit 28 PlayStation games on here. So nice to see on a little 64, still able to put quite a bit of games. Nice. PSP portables, 10 games. Castlevania, Metal Slug, Bomberman, Guilty Gear, Loco Roco, Mega Man's, Potapone, and Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max. PC Engine 290, PC Engine CD-ROM 19, Super Graphics 5, Scum VM. Now these are in Brazilian, so you might want to get rid of these if you don't speak Portuguese. Neo Geo 138, Neo Geo hacks. Nice to see these. There's a bunch of hack games in here as well. Cave Story, again, this is a game you might want to delete as it is in Portuguese. Atari 2600, 643, 1700, 64, Atari Lynx 76, Neo Geo Pocket 9, Color 82, Doom. So you got Doom 2, Doom Plutona, and Doom TNT on here. Nice to see. Coleco Vision 149, Vectrix 90, Amstrad 360, Apple II 23, MSX 685, Amiga 600 83, Amiga 1200 174, Odyssey 116, and then now we have our collections of MAMEs and shoot 'em ups and different manufacturers or producers of MAME games till we get all the way back to favorites. So let's go ahead and play some of his favorites here. We had Alex Kidd 2 already. Oh, get wrecked. Alright, so Darkstalkers works. Damon Front, great game. Highly recommend checking this one out. It's just like Metal Slug, but a little different. She's got the frying pan in there. What do the bubbles do? Get that frying pan out of there. Whoa. Oh, the bubbles hurt you. Okay, fair enough. I thought they'd hurt me, but just want to see if they maybe mutated me. Alright, so that's working good. So no bezels, you do get full screen on here. Alright, let's drive. Got him. First place, what'd it do? Ninja Star. Alright, that works. Alright, so there you have it. really good as far as 64s goes. This thing's packing a punch, especially with these older games, and still including newer games like PlayStation 3, 10 PSP games, 3 Dreamcast games. Those Neo Geo hacks are nice to have. Those aren't included on a lot of things. And then still getting these ones right here, the Amstrad, the Apple IIs, the MSX. Now, obviously, these don't take up a lot of space, but, you know, it's a nice little addition, especially getting them all set up and ready to use. I'm not totally a big fan of this whole MAME separation thing. Like, I would rather just have it all on one folder myself. But for some of you might like it, especially if you have like a bar top or something like that. It definitely makes for scrolling or getting around a little easier. You don't have to hold it down so much. But if you hit select, you know, that could be kind of a burden. You know, if it's not here, you hit select to go search, and then you got to go to different one and search. You got to search different directories, but not a huge deal. I'm gonna have to give this one a A-. You know, there's a couple things about it. You know, getting it onto the English, configuring the controller, the fact that it's still a .bin and people are upset about that and getting it written over. If you have any problems writing it, I made a separate video on how to do the 128 gigabyte. It's the same exact process. So I'll go ahead and link to that video, but that video will show you how to set this all up. Once you get it up and running, so far so good. I'm still noticing a couple games issues here and there. It's not perfect, but it's definitely capable. It's definitely massive. And then Recalbox is really easy to use, as I've mentioned in previous videos. So for the beginner, once you get it all switched over to the right language and everything, you know, you should be rocking and rolling and having a good time. So with all that said, that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.